To install WordPress locally, we're going to need some software, and this software that I've chosen will work on PCs and Macs, so it's ideal. It's called ServerPress, and you can find it if you do a search at Google for ServerPress. And once you get there, you can click the Get Started for Free button, which will take us to a comparison chart, because there are two versions of ServerPress. There is a premium version, which costs money. Let's have a look, see if it sells down here, $99.95, and a free version, which you can use absolutely free. And the free version is perfect for learning WordPress. That's all you need. There are some limitations which you should be aware of though. And the first one is you may be able to use ServerPress to learn WordPress and to experiment on your own computer, but then ServerPress won't allow you to export that and upload it to a web host. You can upgrade at any time to ServerPress Premium, and then you'll have that option if you want to. So that is there for you. We're going to use the desktop limited version. This will allow us to install WordPress and use WordPress on our local computer as we are learning to use WordPress and becoming comfortable with WordPress. So we're going to go down to free, add to cart. And you can see here that the item price is 0, so we're not actually being charged. Let's just scroll down, and we need to enter in our details. So company name, first name, last name, email, phone number, and how did you find out about it? And then you click on agree to terms. Let's click purchase. And you can see we're taken to the purchase confirmation screen, which you can see that we have the desktop limited version, price 0.00. And if you scroll down here, you're then taken to a list of downloads. Depending on which machine you want to get the latest version. So if you're on a Mac, get the latest version at the top. If you're on a PC, get the Windows Vista 7, 8, 10 latest version down here. So I'm going to just click on that to download it. And you can see it's downloaded here now. It's a zip file which I need to open. You should have software on your computer that can deal with zip files. There are free programs available if you haven't. And you can see here that I've got it open in WinZip. I want to unzip this. And I'm going to unzip it into a folder called ServerPress in one of my temporary folders on my computer. You can see it's unzipping here now. And when that's finished, I can now close the zip file and open up my file manager. Obviously, if you're using this on a Mac, you're going to have slightly different screens because Mac and Windows are different. But I'm going to open up the folder that's just installed and now double click on install. This will open the install desktop server dialog box. Now, intuitively, you might click this button and then that will quit from the installer. Make sure you read the button labels. We want to click continue, and this will then open another dialog box after we have to confirm with Windows that we actually want to install it. And this is the dialog box you'll then get. If I click on accept, I'm expecting an error when I complete this stage. We want new desktop server installation, and the reason I'm expecting an error is because I want to show you a common error that you may get when you're installing it. So let's click on continue and see what happens. And here's the error. It appears you have another web server already running on port 80. Desktop server cannot be installed. Okay, so we need to find out what is running on port 80. And the ServerPress company actually have made this quite easy for you. On their website, you can find a link to this particular piece of software, serverpress.com/solutions/cports.zip. And you want to download that file, which you can see I have done here, and I'm going to open it, and that will open in my zip program. And I'm actually just going to run it from within the zip. You may have to run it as administrator, so unzip it and then run as administrator. Do that if you have to. This is the program called current ports, and you want to click on local port to order by port number. And you can see here port 80 is the first one in my list, and I can see that Skype is running on there. Now that is true, Skype is running. So what I need to do is actually go and close Skype and then try to run the ServerPress software again. So I'm just going to go and close Skype. Okay, Skype is now closed, so I'm going to rerun the install program. Let me just drag it over here. Click on continue. It's Windows asking me if I want to install it. And then we get the second dialog box, which is this one. So click on accept and new desktop server installation. This is where we had the problem last time. So let's just click on continue. And you can see the installation has passed the point where it had previously stopped with the error. So we're on course now for installing. I'm going to pause the video because this does take a few minutes to install. And you can see now that install desktop server done. You can start desktop server from, and then it's got the folder location here. It's in XAMPP Lite and it's called desktopserver.exe. Click finish to close the installer. And I now close this down. And opening File Manager here, I can find the location and then double click desktopserver.exe to run the program. And when it starts, you can see that it actually requires administration privileges to start. So you can click on the Yes, Restart Desktop Server with Privileges. But so you're not asked this every single time you want to run desktop server, what I suggest you do is go to the file in your file manager, right click and select Properties. And then on the Properties, let me just drag this up so you can see it. There we go. We want to go into the Compatibility tab and then just check Run this program as an administrator. This link, this checkbox may be on a slightly different tab depending on which version of Windows you're using. I've got Windows 10. And we're just going to click on OK. If we double click to run it now, we'll still be asked by Windows if we want to make sure we want to run it, but then it should run with the correct permissions. And here we are. Once it starts, we want to create a new development website. However, if you just go ahead and you've got a third-party antivirus program on your computer, then you may well get an error message pop up saying that that it couldn't be completed because it couldn't write to a specific folder. The folder in question is C Windows Systems 32 Drivers etc. If you get an error message saying that it can't write to this folder, or in fact it's the hosts, I think, inside the etc., then what you need to do is to disable your antivirus while you do this installation. You should be able to have your antivirus enabled when you're working on your WordPress site, but if you get that error, go in and just disable your antivirus for a few minutes. So I'm going to just do that now. I'm using Kaspersky and I can pause the antivirus for a specified length of time. I'm only going to pause it for 5 minutes. The installation is actually only going to take a couple of minutes. So I'm going to pause protection. It's asking me to confirm. Okay, and then click on Next to create a new development website. And I'm going to just call this test site. So the website or site name is called www.testsite.dev, and the blueprint we can leave as it is. That's just one of the latest versions of WordPress. And the site root, I recommend you leave it there as well, because it will be installed into a folder that has privileges for you to read and write to that folder, so you won't have any problems. If you try and change it to a different folder on your hard drive, you may well end up with problems. So I recommend you just leave it at the site root. And we're going to click on Create, and then this takes 30 seconds or so to set this up. So I'm going to just pause until it's done. Okay, we're now done, so I can click on Next, and you can see now that we've got a URL for our website, our WordPress installation. It's www.testsite.dev, and then we're going to be logging in. But first we have to install WordPress because it's actually on our computers now, but it's not set up so that we can use it. So if we click this link, we'll be taken to the installation routine, which is a really short routine. It only takes a few minutes, and this is what it is. You can see if I drag this down, you can see that the URL is that one we just had. I want to go down to English UK for me, click on Continue, and then we're taken to a form where we have to fill in a few details like site title, call it test site, put whatever you like and it can be changed later, put a username. Again, this is something that when you're creating WordPress websites, you need to have a username that isn't admin. It's not so critical now because it's just a local WordPress site, so I'm not that bothered. And I'm going to just type in a very weak password. Click on Confirm Use of Weak Password. Type in an email address so I can get notifications, and then click on Install WordPress. And the installation should now proceed. You see up in the tab up here, it is actually working away. And once that's done, you're automatically logged straight into your website. First thing I would recommend you do is to make a copy of your test dev / or whatever your website's called, / WP admin URL, because you can use this to log in. Let's just log out for a second. And you can see here, if I type in my username and password, I click on remember me so that it will remember me every time now. And I'm now logged back in again. In the next couple of lectures, we're going to have a look at how to close down your local site, and then when you start your computer again another day and you want to go back in and work on your site, how to start it all up again so you can get back in and work on your local website.